Welcome to week 8 of your mindfulness program, and this week is all about prioritizing. Now, for most of you, life is busy, right? How many of you are constantly saying, I don't have time for that? How many of you are constantly trying to balance being a mom, working, being a friend, being a wife or partner, and actually having a social life, and it just gets the better of you and you just feel like you are constantly dropping the ball? Yeah, I certainly know I felt like that until I learnt about the apples and lemons and rice, and this is honestly a life-changing tool if this connects with you. So let me take you through why I've got apples and lemons and rice. So this jar here, this jar represents time. So whether that time is minutes in a day or hours in a day, days in a week, weeks in a year, at the end of the day, we all have the same amount of time in a set period of time. And you know how some people, you're just like, how do they manage their time better than me? This is their trick, okay? So the one thing though that I do often think about is, although we all have the same amount of time in a week and the same amount of time in a year, we don't know how many years we have. And this exercise really hit home for me when my mum died at the age of 60, which is really, really too young. And it just made me think, how am I filling my time? How am I filling my jars? Are my jars full of things that really matter? Or would I look back on my life and say I filled them with things that didn't matter? And that is what this exercise is about. So I want you to think about rice, okay? Now the rice represents things that we do, things that we worry about, things that we stress about, things that take up usually about half of our time. So things like doing the washing, playing on social media, stalking on social media, folding the clothes, cleaning the house, you know. At the end of the day, yes, these things are important and they make the world go round to some extent, but if you died tomorrow, they're not things that matter. They're not things that add up to who you are as a person, right? And yet we tend to spend so much of our valuable time doing them. So here's one I prepared earlier. This jar is half filled with our rice. And I think you would all agree that we spend at least half our time doing these things. These tedious things, just doing things that we're expected to do in a day. And often some of those things are not even for us, they're just to please others. You know, keeping the house tidy, keeping up with what everyone's doing on social media, all that type of stuff is our rice, okay? Then we get to the lemons. Now lemons are more important than rice. Lemons, I love to call I made these lemons because lemons can be beautiful. I mean, have a think of the beautiful things you can create with lemons. Not only do they look incredible and they're a beautiful color, but we can make so many amazing things with lemons. We can make lemon meringue, we can make lemonade, we can make exotic cocktails. So lemons can be good. And we need lemons in our life, but too much lemon can make life sour. And I want you to think of that as we go through. I'm just going to take a moment to explain the apples. Apples, all right? Apples are, if you think back to week 4, apples are your values. Apples are the things that are so important to you. Apples make you who you are, okay? So your apples might be things like your family, your relationships with your friends, your health and wellness, okay? So let me then go back to our lemons. Unfortunately, when we're choosing how to spend our time, we fill it with rice and then we put our lemons in, all right? So our lemons might be our job. You know, work is necessary, but it doesn't define us. And that's a mistake I made for a very long time. I spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder of a huge organization, which I don't regret, but I actually at some point thought that that defined me. And the fact that I spent 8 years studying and got 3 university degrees, I thought that that was important to who I am. It's not. But I thought it was. So my lemons, my job and my studies were a lemon to me, whereas I thought they were an apple. Other things that might be lemons, socializing with friends. Your friends might be your apples, but going out and partying on the weekend, that stuff that you say yes to, and as soon as you say yes, you wish you hadn't, or you don't know how to say no, and you sort of like, I don't know why, because I want to see my friends, but I just don't want to go out and get drunk on the weekend, or I just don't want to go to that party. That's when it's a lemon, all right? But how often do we still do it? How often do we take the kids to however many sports or parties? Yeah? I mean, I know so many people that their kids do activities every single afternoon of the week, and the parents are stressed out driving their kids around. Sure, it's important for our kids to do things, but is it that important? All right, so then we put that. So have a think about what lemons might be for you, and we put those in that jar. Lemons will be different for everybody, but they're generally they're those things that we think are really important. But if you ask yourself at the end of the day, if I died tomorrow, would it really be that important? If the answer is no, then it might be a lemon, okay? And then we get to our apples, right? Apples are the things that define us. Apples are who we are, they're what we love, they're our passions, they're our purpose, that they are us, right? So then let's put some of that in, let's put our family in. Yeah, for a lot of you it'll be family or quality relationships or something like that. Let's get that in there. Let's get another apple in there, all right? This apple here might be your wellness, yeah? So your wellness, and as you can see here, you don't even fit in your jar. And I know a lot of you can relate to that. So while we're so busy doing all the stuff and pleasing everybody and doing everything we should be doing, it's us that we're not making time for. And you know what? As soon as stuff happens and things get a little bit busy, that's the first apple that goes. All right? I know you can relate to that. But your apples may be different to mine, but that's just really common. And we've got this apple here. This apple doesn't even make it into the jar. All right? Now, if you looked back at my life a few years ago, when I was living a life based on other people's values, and I was living a life just trying to impress everybody, and I was just constantly had this feeling of not being good enough, right? I didn't even know I had another apple. This apple for me is my purpose. This apple for me represents empowering women. This apple for me represents what I'm doing right now, reaching out, making other people's lives happier, healthier, easier. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, it didn't even exist. There wasn't even room in my jar to consider me having my own purpose, right? Because I was just too busy doing life to be someone myself, all right? So I want you to think about that. Really think about, well, what are your apples? And are they even getting in your jar at the moment? And what you are trading off for your apples. Kids' sports, working too hard, social events. If I go to this social event, then I'm hungover the next day and I can't go to the gym, or I can't go for a walk with friends. That's a trade-off. As I said, lemons can be good. The moment they become sour is when you're trading off an apple for that lemon, okay? So let's do things a little bit differently. This is the trick. Imagine we had another jar. Imagine you woke up tomorrow and you said, I'm going to fill my jar the way I want to fill my jar. I'm going to make my life meaningful on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a yearly basis, and I'm going to do things that matter to me, right? I would fill it with my apples first, right? So every day I'm going to make time for my family. One thing I do a lot more of right now is if my kids run into my bedroom in the morning, instead of saying, get up, we gotta go, we gotta get this done, I just cuddle them. I cuddle them for 5 minutes, and that for me is getting my apple in for that day. Put yourself in there. You know, it might not be every day, but at least a few times a week. Make some time for yourself. Whether that's meditating, yoga, physical activity, quiet time, reading a book. Are you making time for you in that day? Make time for your purpose, your passions, whatever your apples are. Make time for them. I've got a few women that have said after doing this exercise, I know I've got a passion and I know I've got a purpose and I don't even know what it is at the moment because I'm too busy, right? But I'm making time every week to just sit by myself and think about what it is I want to achieve in life. Think about what it is I'm going to achieve besides being a wife, a mother, a housekeeper. Yeah, and I love that because unless you create the time for your apples, you may not even know what they are. So then we put the lemons in. You know, and some people sometimes say to me, Sarah, this is ridiculous. You've got to get that stuff done. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying make sure we do the important things first. Okay? So then we fit our lemons in. Then we go to work, you know. Then we do all the activities and stuff. But at least we've done what's important first. And I can guarantee you, at the end of the day, this jar is better than this jar. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel more like you. You're going to feel happier at the end of this jar. And then people will say to me, but what about the housework? What about, you know, I'm going to send my kids to school with dirty clothes? What about all that stuff? What about keeping up with social media? What about all of that? And I say it still is important. It's the order that you do it that needs to change. So once you're doing everything that's important to you, we then fit this stuff in around it. Yeah? We get up, we do the stuff that's important, and then we fit this in where we can. And that, ladies, is the moral of the story. If you change the way you do things, you will still get everything done, but you'll get it done more efficiently. Sure, the house might be dirty for an extra day when you've got visitors over, but does that really matter? You know, one thing that I often say is people say, oh, I've got visitors coming over, so I spend half the day cleaning the house before they get there. And I say, well, what's important? That's right. Why are your visitors coming over? They're coming to see you. They're coming to make apples. And yet you get so caught up worrying about impressing them and having a clean house or providing nice food or, you know, all this other stuff that you forget to actually have quality time with them. You know, so the moral of the story is it will all get done, but it will get done more efficiently and you'll get the important things done as well.